I once knew this trucker.
Okay, it sounds like a good joke.
Yeah, pig and a dog walked into a bar. No, seriously, I knew a trucker.
Okay, I knew one too.
No, I mean, I knew this guy, kind of, right? And he was one of those guys that messed with people all the time.
Oh, the fun ones.
You know, an aggravator, an instigator. Isn't that what they call them, instigators?
Sometimes, I mean, it depends on what he was doing. If it was instigating or aggravating or just having fun.
And you know, when I say I knew this trucker, it almost sounds like, you know how people go, I'm just asking for a friend. But, right, but it's really not me. But this trucker was at a truck stop one time, and he was messing with everybody on the CB, right? And he, kind of picking fights with these guys.
That's an instigator.
That's an instigator, right?
Yep.
Exactly. You know, messing with them, when they're talking and just doing all kind of stuff. So anyway, finally he baited somebody in, and the other trucker, this other trucker, I guess that was at the truck stop, they kind of got into a little argument on the CB, and they're going back and forth. And finally, the trucker that he picked a fight with was like, so yeah, put up or shut up, man. Where you at?
And what did he do?
He says, oh, I'm in this Warner truck over here. And he wasn't in the Warner truck.
Of course not.
But so there's one Warner truck at this truck stop. And next thing you know, there's this giant of a cowboy trucker walking across the parking lot towards the Warner truck. I'm serious. This is serious stuff. And apparently, I guess you could tell the Warner driver didn't know, probably didn't have his CB on. Knowing a Warner driver, he probably didn't own one. I shouldn't say that because there's a lot of Warner drivers own CBs. Anyway, so you could see the Warner driver leaning out the truck, shaking his head back and forth, and the cowboy trucker looks like he's almost eye level with this guy in the truck, and he's pointing his finger at him, and the Warner, you could just tell the Warner driver's like, it wasn't me, man. I don't know what you're talking about, dude. But anyways, I was just thinking to myself, that crap goes on. And it may be one of the reasons, it's one of the reasons people cite that they don't like CBs, because of the foul language and the cussing and everything like that.
Right.
And then, of course, something like this happens, which this could have ended in a million different bad ways.
Oh, yeah, it could.
The Warner driver could have, had a gun, or some kind of weapon on him. The Paul Bunyan trucker could have, yanked him out of the truck and beat the hell out of him. People could have went to jail. People could have got hurt or killed, all because, somebody's messing with you on the CB. So I'm here to tell you that not everything you hear on the CB or see on Facebook, I had to add that in, is true. Mm-hmm. Not everything is true.
No.
Make sure if you get challenged, before you beat the hell out of somebody at a truck stop, make sure it's the right guy.
I actually, I can understand when people say that they don't like the instigating or the fighting, because I'm one of those that don't like it. I can deal with some friendly messing around. Eddie and I do it all the time at church, or some of the other people that we know. We can mess around, but to a point where you're actually getting someone so, worked up, that takes it beyond being funny and messing around. That's being, to me, a bully.
Yeah, I mean, especially if you're calling names and cussing and everything, not everybody wants to hear that kind of language. Not everybody wants to, in fact, most people would rather keep it clean, and then there's people on there, on the CB looking for hookers and all kind of stupid stuff, you hear on there. And like I said, I'll tell you, and the disrespecting of women,
Right.
when you were with me on the road, if you talked, there was always some a-hole, especially in the city areas, where the CBs were more prevalent, disrespecting. So yeah, guys and gals, keep it clean out there. Maybe the CB will make a comeback. I think, Ruthann, that it needs to. A lot of people have written into the show and said, "Hey, I got a CB because I kept hearing you guys pushing for it." We've had people write in and say, "Well, you don't need a CB if you know what you're doing and you're careful." But you know what? There's always those couple times where you're gonna wish you had a CB, especially coming down a mountain of with snow, in blind snow, in bad weather, when traffic backs you up. There's going to be times where you really wish you had a CB. There's no app.
There's a thing called a whiteout that happens really fast that you can be paying attention as much as you want and you come up on it really quick.
That is very true. So we're hoping that people make the CB make a comeback. I've had guys also write in, Ruthann, and say, "Listen, I don't like the CB. I don't want to carry one, but I do carry one. I have it turned down very low. I have the squelch turned back to where unless there's an emergency, I can hear it. And then in the winter time is when I turn it up even more because of the dangerous roads." Mm-hmm. But, if for at least that, drivers, I would tell you, pick up a CB today if you don't have one, and keep it clean out there, and don't get into fights with people, because honestly, you never even know if the guy you get into a fight with is even the guy that was instigating the fight. I mean, it's just stupid. You're kind of on the blind when you're talking on the CB.
You are. And what kind of coward picks a fight with someone that they can't see, first of all? I mean, what enjoyment do you get? How, I guess, what thrill do you get getting someone else upset? What does that make you? A narcissist. So knock it off. You truckers are better than that. Don't do it.
Well, my friend, first off, is the guy. And second off, honestly, people love, how people are, Ruthann. They love to create chaos. They love to read about chaos. When they go to the movies, they like to pick movies that have murder and chaos and scary stuff. People just, for some reason, have a craving for trouble sometimes. Not everybody does. And not every trucker out there is causing trouble on the CB. All I'm saying is be careful out there, drivers. Get a CB, use it right, and arm yourself with as many trucker tools as you can, Ruthann. Moving on. Hey, Ruthann, we usually have the commercials playing live. Or not live, but pre-recorded. But why don't we just mention a few of our sponsors real quick, and do the commercials real quick right here. First off, National Carriers.
National Carriers or NCI?
Yes, NCI. Their phone number is 888-311-7076. Was talking to the director the other day, Ruthann. They've got regional just about everywhere in the country. They've got over the road. They've got trainers now for some students and some leasing. Give them a call at 888-311-7076. And they don't do broker loads hardly at all.
No, they own their freight.
Right. Carter Lumber is up next, Ruthann. Carter Lumber has over 160 locations in the United States. Chances are there's a terminal near you, drivers, and winter's coming. And I know a lot of drivers like to get local jobs for the winter, Ruthann. And so if you're looking to be home every day, carterlumber.com/TalkCDL. That's how you can find them. It's www.carterlumber.com/TalkCDL. Tell them that TalkCDL sent you over there for a local home everyday job. And you don't even have to have a CDL. They actually have non-CDL jobs and Class B jobs. So drivers, give them a call today. And Ruthann, truckparkingclub.com is our next sponsor.
Yes.
And you know what? What's the owner's name?
Evan.
Evan is like really taking the country by storm. And like, I was on their page not long ago, and you can click on any town and find a parking space. If you're without parking, you can now go ahead and join this truckparkingclub.com and put your name in there, and they'll even take a phone call, Ruthann, if you can't click on a place or you're not sure how to do it. But I think you just click on it. It tells you how many spots are available. It might be in just somebody that owns a piece of land that fits 10 trucks, and it's all macadamed, and it's all ready for truckers to park. So check them out today at truckparkingclub.com. And last but not least, Ruthann, who do we have? DriveWise. And that's DriveWyze.com. And they are number one in companies and solo drivers. It's app-based, being with the ability to bypass the trucking weigh scales, Ruthann. So if you're a driver, a lot of owner-operators I've met over the years, Ruthann, or even company drivers, they have other things beside the scale-avoiding program in their
app.
In their app. You know, they have like a lot of safety features now that gives you warnings up ahead and all kind of reports and weather reports. Check them out at drivewise.com. That's DRIVEWYZE.com, and tell them TalkCDL sent you over. Moving on. Did I take too long?
No, I thought it was actually wonderful.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. That was really nice of you to compliment me. That's a breath of fresh air.
I told you I'm in a really great mood.
You are in a good mood today, Ruth, and I'm so glad. So you know, before we get started, you know, I wanted to talk to drivers today about a couple things, and one of them is going to be, you know, it's not a list, but, and I'm going to get a list, but I have like a list of good shippers, and these are rated by drivers, and bad shippers and receivers, you know, rated by drivers, good and bad. And then I also have a mystery. I do. I'm going to tell you something. It's a trucker mystery, and I want these sleuth truckers. And by the way, the word sleuth, you know what that means, right? Detective. So I want truckers to put on their detective hat. And let me, Ruthann, you know, a lot of crimes get solved online by what they call online sleuths. I mean, literally, because like cops, and I'm not saying FBI and all these people miss stuff, but they do. They miss stuff. And a lot of these online sleuth guys and gals have actually helped solve crimes over the last couple of years. And it's amazing. So we want to kind of put that out there for our trucking audience. Do you want me to just go ahead and read this sleuth thing real quick? Do you want to do that, or do you want to give us your state today that you have?
It doesn't matter. If you want to start, we can go back and forth.
It doesn't matter.
All right, we can do that.
You're in such a good mood, I'm going to let you decide.
We're going to go back and forth.
When you're in a bad mood, you're not allowed to decide. So go ahead. What do you got? You've got the state of Indiana today, correct?
I do. Indiana. I have right now starting with Center Point, Indiana.
Center Point. You know, I was based in Indiana at one time, Richmond, where one of the casket capitals are. And so I'm interested to hear, you know, some of the places in Indiana that truckers can stop when they're laid over, Ruthann, and visit.
Well, this is a fun thing. I'm going to tell you.
Go ahead, let's hear it.
It's called the Exotic Feline Rescue Center.
Feline as in kitty cats?
As in lions and tigers and leopards, oh my.
Oh, wow. In Indiana?
In Indiana. They also have servals, pumas, bobcats, lynx, and ocelots.
I know there's very few states that allow you to own big animals like that, exotic animals. Florida, of course, being one of them. But go ahead, let's hear about it.
Well, they started in 1991, and they had, at the time, 15 acres and 3 cats. Now they've got 108 acres and 200 cats.
Wow.
So I when I was reading that, I'm like, oh my gosh, there is a lot. I didn't realize there was so many exotic feline that they would need to be rescued like that. I guess, you know, that's just my own ignorance to not think that there would be that many. But yeah, and they have, would they get a lot of their rescues from circuses or roadside zoos that were illegally obtained, that kind of stuff. So this is in Center Point, Indiana. And you can go in there and see all of the different animals. You can do where they'll let you go really, I don't want to say up close and personal, but you could be really close to them, you know, like through the fence and stuff. Like there's ways that you can get really close to them and actually have extra experiences with them. So
Wow.
I thought that was pretty neat.
Yeah. Well, remember the picture that we have of me and that driver that had that Siberian tiger in a cage on a flatbed? Actually, it was on a lowboy. And he was escorted out of Colorado by the police because you're not even allowed to have one in the state of Colorado at the time when I got my picture taken. And then he had been escorted to New Mexico. And when I backed in, I didn't even realize I actually backed in right beside him in the back of a truck stop. I believe it was a TA. And there he was. And well, actually, I was outside my truck looking at the amazing size of this animal on the back of a tractor trailer. And he actually got it out. He had it on a chain, and he got it out, and he took my picture for. I think I paid him $10. He's like, for $10, I do pictures, and I'm like, wow. I mean, that's really cool. But what was amazing though, when he got that thing out, it made me look like the size of a Barbie doll, and I was amazed. He got it to stand and get behind me, and when I say behind me, I mean like 2 feet. And he's there, now just stay looking forward and don't make any sudden moves. Right. I'm like, when he said that, the minute he said don't make any sudden moves, I thought, I'm on the food chain.
And you were thinner then, so yeah.
And now this is a trucker, man. I mean, honestly, what's funny is you have to ask yourself, okay, so this is a trucker. I guess obviously he's an owner-operator. He's got a big cat, no load, because the size of this cage, there's no way he was going to fit much of a load on his trailer. And it's like, okay, so this dude must have had some money or something, because there he is, and he didn't have a new truck either. It wasn't even a nice truck, but there he is with this whole setup. And I was like, where are you going? And he wasn't sure where he was going to go because he couldn't go in certain states. And there he is with this big cat traveling around. And like I said, when he told me not to make any sudden moves, I realized this dude's probably not operating too legal himself, because, wow, that tiger could have just killed me. There was nothing he could have done about it. In fact, if it wanted to run away, he couldn't have stopped it. He would have had to shoot it.
Right.
How crazy. So no, I would not be, I would go to that place because I'm sure they have it secured. So all you truckers, if you want to go to the big cat farm, what's it called? It was in Center Point, you said?
It's called the Exotic Feline Rescue Center.
Yo, check that out, drivers, man. Ruthann, that's got to be cool just to see it.
I think, here it says that they have a mix of employees, volunteers, and interns that take care of the cats. Between 3,000 and 4,000 pounds of meat are fed to them every day, and their habitats can be as large as an acre and include towers and toys so the cats can play and they're regular clean. So, I mean, they take their job serious when it comes to that. The nearby universities have also used their facility to help teach, I guess, maybe like veterinarians and other stuff like that. So they do have parking in a gravel lot that's about 200 yards from the entrance. And it says that they do daily tours and provide an up-close view of the beautiful animals. So you can actually have some fun.
Hey, that honestly, truly sounds like the best place that you've come up with for truckers when they're laying over to check out. And I just pulled Center Point up. Center Point is located in the state of Indiana, literally just straight west of Terre Haute. Terre Haute. I never even know how to pronounce that. Is it Terre Haute? Terre Haute. But anyways, it's not far from Terre Haute, Indiana, to the west, if you guys are interested in visiting the big cat place. Ruthann, moving on. What do you got?
I have another place that's in Hillsboro, Indiana.
Hillsboro, Indiana, yes. What is it called?
Myers Diner Theater.
Oh, it's a theater?
Yeah, I mean, it seemed, what I'm reading, it seems really fun. I say this because, when you're out on the road, especially if you have a driver and his wife, or just a driver that just likes to get out of the redundant of the constant same thing. If you're up in the Myers area, this might be something, or Hillsborough area, I'm sorry, that this might be something that you would enjoy doing, having a little fun outside of that. But what's really interesting is it's got home cooked food.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
And you said Hillsborough, right?
Yes. Hillsborough, Indiana.
So I was looking at the location of Hillsborough, and it's west of Indianapolis. It's not far from Danville, Illinois. So I'm going to guess it's about maybe 20 miles from the state line there on I-74. Drivers, check it out. And it's called again, Ruthann?
Myers Dinner Theater.
Myers Dinner Theater. So dinner and a movie.
Yes.
Awesome. Do you have any more stuff for the drivers?
No. No, I'm good.
Okay. Awesome. Well, very good. I like that. I like both places.
Well, do you put the my link with all the stuff that I have? Do you put it on the site?
I sure will.
Yeah, do that, and they can actually go and see it too.
So, I just like the fact that, most drivers, are hitting truck stops and stuff, and some of these places, might be, convenient because, like, I was looking up, like, as a driver, right? You're driving west, and you probably zip by Hillsborough without even a blink because you're on the interstate. And so when you look at it, Veedersburg with a V as in Victor and Waynestown, it's right between the two. So if you guys know where that's at, and it's maybe 30 miles or no, maybe 20 miles west of Crawfordville, Indiana. So don't blink your eyes, driver. You might have to type in the address and look for it, but homemade food, that's nice versus the fast food. Moving on, Ruthann. So let's talk about this sleuth. You and I, we like going to, Ruthann's a sleuth. She loves figuring out crimes. You've watched every forensic file, Ruthann.
I have cold case forensic.
Every cold case, every forensic file, you watch them. And in fact, if you try to talk to Ruthann when any one of those shows are on, you probably will get smacked with a flip-flop because Ruthann is concentrating. And when someone interrupts her, it just about kills her. Am I right or wrong?
I will not deny it.
Okay. So moving on to this article, and I want to try to start a series of trucker mysteries. Okay. And this is a mystery that happened 5 years ago. And so I want to just read a little bit about it. It was about a young lady. Her name was Kamisha Thomas. It says Kamisha Thomas was a 25-year-old trucker working for none other than KLLM.
Wow.
Yeah, so she was with Clem. And it says Thomas thought of herself as a young, black, gifted woman. This is according to a self-written introduction on her Facebook page. It says she studied business at Alcorn State University in Louisiana. Her profile said before driving a truck for KLLM. Now, here is the details to the event. Now, obviously, it's a mystery. She was found dead. I'm going to just, make a spoiler alert here. I'm going to let you know what happened. She was found dead in her truck. They found her at the Mardi Gras truck stop in New Orleans on September 12th. This is when they found her in 2018. And the reason that we're talking about it now is because obviously it's unsolved and they've never even put out a cause of death. But here are the details around this. And I thought, Ruthann, you'll definitely be interested in it because you like to hear details and try to figure things out. Mm-hmm. And by the way, if anybody out there has information, even if you've witnessed something, contact TalkCDL and we'll get a hold of the authorities for you. Okay, or you can actually call the New Orleans police and leave a unanimous tip if you want to. Okay. But here's some of the events that happened, okay? Number one, she was found dead. We know this on September 12th in 2018 inside of her rig. The last known time that she was alive or anybody had heard from her was on 9/9 of 2018. That was her mother, and her name was Joyce. They had talked on the phone, which is really sad because that means it's like you're always on the phone with our girls, okay?
Always.
And so it sounds like, Kamisha had a close family. Her and her mom must have been close because they were talking on the phone, which is typical for a mother-daughter. Her company, which would have been KLM, they called on that day to, concerned about it's Carnisha. Is that her name? Is Carmisha? I'm sorry, I keep pronouncing things wrong. They were concerned, and obviously they found it on the Qualcomm. This is probably how they did that. They tracked it with their satellite. It said the truck had been parked for 3 days in a paid. Now listen, it was parked there for 3 days. I think she was only supposed to be there overnight, but she was in a paid parking spot. Okay. And it hadn't been paid since day one, I guess. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the people from the truck stop were the ones that approached the semi. They banged on the truck, and obviously there was no answer. After a short time, they checked the doors, but of course the doors were locked. At that time, they realized that there was an excessive amount of flies. Yeah. Well, this is what the reports say. I'm just giving you the reports,
right,
okay?
Right.
Which I would imagine they were inside the truck most likely, and you probably had them outside too. Mm-hmm. It said they called the authorities, and the fire department came and broke the windows to gain access. So obviously they found Carmisha. It says, now listen to this. Every article that I found, I was really looking everywhere. Every article that I found said that the report said that she was covered in blood. It said, now some articles say that the information came from the fire department, and some articles say that the information had come from truck stop workers. There's never been a cause of death listed in 5 years. Joyce Thomas, which is Carmisha's mother, says she wasn't even allowed to see the body.
Wow.
Isn't that something? Because apparently as soon as they found out what happened, they were on their way to Louisiana, and they were never allowed to see the bodies. Truck stop workers said they seen her on the phone, days prior, calling an Uber. I guess she was trying to go in town. This was a few days prior to when she was found. She was also seen in the truck stop watching football, just sitting there watching football. She had called her mother to say, now here's another, there's always something weird in these unsolved mysteries. Another happening, I guess a few days prior, she had called her mother to report that her phone had been stolen. In another article I seen, it actually said she was pickpocketed. So supposedly somebody took Carmisha's telephone. So there is the entire mystery right there. There really isn't a lot more any more clues that I could find, other than, like they said, she had obviously been dead long enough to where the nature was taking over, and supposedly she was found in blood. And to be honest with you, because at 25, like, for example, a young person, sometimes a young person, you see them die in at a hospital or at home because of drug use or something like that, right? Mm-hmm. But this was never something that, and besides, she was a truck driver, so it doesn't sound like there was anything like that happened. Or because if there was something like that, the coroner would have already listed. They wouldn't have been able to list it and say, okay, there was an overdose in her, she had drugs in her system, but which was never said. So I'm going to say that's not a case. And they also never said she had a heart attack, because they could have listed that. All I'm saying is, if it would have been her own fault for the death, or a natural fault like a seizure or a heart attack or a stroke or something to that effect, they would have listed that. You know what I mean?
Right.
There would be no holding back. So to me, it has to be foul play. Especially if she was found in blood, I'm going to say she was murdered. It has to be murder. Would you not agree?
Well, yeah, that's why it's a cold case right now, because they haven't been able to find a reason for it to be. And like you said, there's evidence of a violent crime. So it is considered murder that way.
Yeah, well,
I'm just really concerned why the parent wasn't able to see her. Even when usually they still allow the parent to see them when, it's mainly for identification, even to confirm that it is them. But even if they started decaying, it still takes longer than just a couple of days for, it does break down, but still, I don't know. I guess that just bothers me there.
Well, see, now this is the other thing. Was there mutilation? Okay, because usually when they don't allow someone to see their loved one's body, it's because of maybe gunshot wounds or knife wounds.
They cover them with a blanket.
Well, I'm just saying, usually they don't allow them to see it for those reasons because of the brutality a lot of times. If it's like sometimes they can't even fix a body up to have an open casket. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So all I'm saying is I think we can rule out suicide, honestly, because, again, the coroner, I'm going to just go back to this for a second. The coroner, and if it wasn't a mystery, suicide, drug use, heart attack, natural death, all that is not a cold case and it's not mystery.
No.
Okay, so all I'm saying is, if she wasn't allowed to see the body, wouldn't you not think? I mean, what other reason would there be for a police station to say, no, you're not allowed to see your daughter? You know what I mean? Before she's buried or whatever they did. I don't even know what did they do with the body. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Like what was it?
That I can't actually say what that was. It's kind of weird that, that if she had her phone and stuff stolen, it wouldn't actually tell anybody else where she was located, though. Like, as far as at that truck stop to have something happen to her. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, see, that was going to be one of my next things to talk about for a second. Was she an actual victim of two separate crimes? A stolen phone and murder by two separate people? You know what I mean? Do you think, is it possible? I mean, yes, it is possible that you got your phone stolen and then not too long after that, you were murdered.
Correct.
So what do you think? Do you think it is possible, like I said, you could have your phone stolen by one person and then murdered by another.
Yeah, no, of course you can. I mean, she seemed like she had a lot of, I want to say, bad luck running on her. I mean, you said she was pickpocketed or just having her phone stolen. We don't know. There could have been more taken from her.
Yeah, she could have been robbed. But that wasn't mentioned.
No, I'm saying that, you had two different references there. So whatever happened, something was taken from her in that way, and it was definitely part of her phone. She was viewed multiple times by employees of the truck stop watching TV, using the phone, that kind of stuff. I wonder why, I don't remember. Did you say all of that happened in one day? Because you said that she paid for...
She was there for 3 days, and that was going to be the next thing I ask, like you were about to say. Okay, why wouldn't the truck stop employees be concerned about a truck parked in the paid spot that didn't pay?
Exactly, and you said that she didn't pay for the first night, and usually... I could be wrong.
Well, I didn't say she didn't pay. I didn't say she didn't pay for the first night. I think she did pay for the first night. Obviously, then she was probably going to be on her way. But or I don't know if she did pay for the first night. I can't even say that. But what I'm getting at though is what about, and again, I'm not accusing people, but the guy is there a guy that's in charge of checking on that? And wink, wink, you know what I mean? Could that be the murderer? You know what I'm saying? Everybody's a suspect. All right.
Yeah, you have to.
The guy that is at the truck stop, right? That failed to check on a truck in the paid spot for 3 days. You have to wonder why.
Right.
Why didn't you check a semi truck? Because you would have been made to. That's the rule.
Well, you know what's really weird is most drivers out there right now are probably saying, yeah, when I'm parked somewhere, if I'm not out by a certain time, they're knocking on my door telling me to get going, that kind of situation. Why at this particular part, would they have not done the same thing to where, hey, it's 9, it's 10, okay, now it's lunchtime. She hasn't, that truck has not moved. Let's go see what they're doing and get them out here because I haven't even seen her in here since yesterday or whatever the case might have been. That could have definitely made a huge difference in solving the crime that had committed because evidence could have been more fresh to where it could have been taken care of. Or she could have still been alive.
And then the last question I have is why no cause of death listed? And I have to say, 5 years ago, I can understand if you're trying not to, if there's something that's unique about it, that you didn't want to chase somebody away. Okay. And you're trying to catch them because a lot of times they don't want to give out certain information.
True.
But after 5 years, you would think that they would go, okay, we need help from the public. Here, let us give you more clues that we never told you about. You know what I'm saying? So personally, one of the things that I would do, and just putting on my detective ears. Number one, they should have at least got the cell phone record from whoever the carrier is, if they even did that. That's where her cell phone was stolen, and maybe even pinged it. And then, even though you might not be able to catch the guy by going, okay, we see where the phone went, but you could see if he made phone calls on it to different people, and now you got other people that he's linked to. And now you go and you question, okay, all these people who they know that might have been on a phone, blah, blah, blah. And you might question 5 people that he called, and one name links everybody together on some guy. And now you got the guy at least that stole her phone. You see what I'm saying? Let's say, for example, she was with AT&T and some guy had stolen her phone. And now, a week later after you discovered this poor woman's death, right, you go to AT&T and you see that her phone, after it was stolen, made phone calls to certain people, a lot of certain people at certain times. And then what you do is you go and you question these people and maybe you get a name. You know what I mean? This is Billy Bob called me or whatever the case is. You know what I'm saying? So now you have at least a name of a possible phone theft guy, which also could be the perpetrator that killed her, if it is indeed murder. Does that make sense? This killer that they just caught, the Gilgo serial killer up in Long Island.
Yeah.
This is one of the ways they caught him.
Yeah. No, I understand what you're saying with the pinging of that. I just know when a lot of times when people's cell phones get stolen, they do this cell break where it's very hard to find out exactly where it's at right away. Like they'll turn it off and then they can't do anything. It's really weird the way they do it.
But that's not really what I'm talking about. What I'm saying is, what if they didn't do the cell phone break? The bottom line is they should have at least checked.
Yeah, they might have done that. I don't know.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Like if you check the cell phone records, okay, maybe this guy did make phone calls before he broke the phone or did whatever he was going to do with it or sold it or got rid of it.
Mm-hmm.
And therefore, you can at least find a name, is all I'm saying.
No, you're right.
So the other thing is, I would be like wondering why wasn't anybody checking on the truck after 3 days that didn't pay?
That actually is more of the concern for me than any of the other details. I mean, when a tractor's sitting in your parking lot, you see the person for the first day and you don't see anybody there, that would be more of the concern of why that, I would definitely be investigating the rest of that portion of it of the employees of the truck stop.
Mm-hmm. So anyway, what we're wanting is we want everybody to know about this case. All you sleuthers out there, Ruthann, put on your sleuth hats and, try to help the Thomases. Obviously, we all want justice for anybody that was killed. And obviously, something is suspicious about this whole deal if they didn't put a cause of death. Now, I'm not saying she was definitely murdered, but I'm telling you that it's if she was found in blood and there's no cause of death listed, everybody's pretty concerned. And I'm telling you, everybody's thinking the same way, that somebody actually killed this poor girl.
Do you have her name again and maybe some information that they can go to get?
I mean, if you just look up Karmesha, Karmesha Thomas, 25-year-old female trucker, drove for KLLM and was found dead at the Mardi Gras truck stop in 2018. I guarantee you'll find all kind of articles on it, and start investigating and help find out.
Go for it, drivers. I'm sure someone had to be in that area at some point. They might even have recognized seeing her.
Yeah, absolutely, drivers. And let's see what we can do together.
Let's do this thing.
So moving on.
Ruthann,
I've got a list. I was just playing around and I found a bunch of blogs and stuff, and these are really right from drivers. And to be honest with you, I agree with their list. It's a list of shippers and receivers that are either really good or really bad. Okay. And I have a couple of the good ones. I just took a few names, not names, but blogs, postings. And I've got two places I just want to point out. This one trucker wrote about a warehouse called John Manville. And the one in Chico, California, he was talking about. He said, they're the fastest loaders I've ever seen. He said, I've been there 4 times, and every time they have loaded my trailer at lightning speeds. Last time I was there, I bumped the dock, immediately went off duty. My trailer was loaded, and the guy came out to my truck with paperwork in 14 minutes. He said, I wish every shipper was like that.
Wow.
It says, my wife and I loaded, another trucker wrote, my wife and I loaded at the John Manville in North Carolina or South Carolina. He couldn't remember. He said, they were lightning fast there too. He said a full trailer loaded in about 20 minutes. Total time on property was about 45 minutes. So, kudos and thumbs up to John Manville and their warehousing. They seem to really get truckers in and out, according to a couple posts.
What a way to set an example, right?
Yeah, I mean, honestly and truly, what a way. The other one was Kellogg's. Kellogg's in Kansas City. One driver wrote, one of their yard guys. Now, this is also one that went kind of above and beyond what they have to do, because a lot of times you can't get these people to help you. You know what I mean? But it said one of their yard guys pulled a trailer out of a tight spot, I guess, for him, and left it in a great spot if it didn't need work before I could leave. I guess it needed work. The driver writes, the yard guy then moved another trailer to make room for the mechanic, who came out and worked on it for an hour. He said, I'm buying more of their cereal after this. Yeah. So, I mean, these are good shippers and receivers. And let's be honest, it's normally the people, obviously. But, if you've got 2 John Manville, one in North Carolina and one in California, and truckers all saying, no, these guys are good, I would say it sounds like, it's almost like, when we go to Chick-fil-A, what does everybody say to you when you pull in line?
How may I help you?
Or how may I serve you? Don't they say that?
I don't know.
Yeah, they say, how may I serve you? And they're very courteous, and they're very good people, most Chick-fil-A's. So it sounds like, like Chick-fil-A, John Manville warehouses are probably, their employees are probably told in training, we're courteous to truck drivers, we take care of them, and we don't want a bad reputation. Anyways, Ruthann, bad shippers and receivers. It's no surprise that most of them are going to be found in the cold storage industry, refrigerated trailers. Here's one Bush warehouse. Driver wrote, I'm thinking I could be approaching it. I've been sitting in Jacksonville, Florida at the Bush warehouse waiting on my load for 27 hours.
Wow.
He said, my dispatcher thinks it's fine and just tells me to hang in there. There are several other fully loaded prime trailers. So he's a prime driver. He says, they're all around me, but they are not mine. He says, I'm told. He's not sure if I'll get detention or not. Maybe, he says. What's your longest wait, he asks, not including extreme weather events. So basically what the driver is asking everybody in this blog is, we understand like there's sometimes extreme weather to get everybody held up, but this is just on a regular day, okay? Here's another driver that writes, bad warehouse, Anheuser-Busch out of Fort Collins, Colorado. Was there 36 hours for a drop and hook.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, not to get loaded, just to pick up a trailer. Now, in the article...
Their company actually should be upset about the fact that they had to wait them that long.
Yeah, I don't think they do, though, because I've seen managers, they're all kind of rude at a lot of these cold storage places. Here's an article. It says, long wait times often make grocery retailers and distributors a delivery headache for truck drivers, according to a survey by Zipline Logistics. It says, among more than 150 carriers of food, beverages, and consumer goods polled, truckers named companies such as Kroger, Target, Walmart, C&S Wholesale Groceries, and United Natural Foods, UNFI, as receivers and shippers where they can get held up for hours. And I have to agree with them, Ruthann. I've been held up at C&S warehouses, especially up in Connecticut. Man, crazy.
Yeah.
It said other retailers and wholesalers cited comments by truckers for excess loading and unloading times and other shipping issues other shippers included Super Value, been hung up there 1 billion times, Dollar General. You ready for the next one, Ruthann? Wakefern. So,
surprise.
Yeah, Wakefern, I couldn't believe. I used to go in there, and I used to get in and out pretty good, but I remember the over-the-road truckers, they were there for days. It was just terrible, just sitting there sleeping, waiting. Aldi's, Safeway, Amazon, and ready for my favorite, Myers. I've been held up at Myers, as well as manufacturers, Pepsi and Coca-Cola and Kraft. And I've been held up at Kraft. I've been held up at Kraft for one skid.
I remember.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I used to do a lot of LTL and down in Allentown, and I remember going into Kraft. And what really sucked is, I would back in the door and then I'd walk into the warehouse, and it seemed like nobody was even pulling anything out or putting anything in a trailer. I'd be literally walking around for 10 minutes looking for somebody, and then finally you'd find somebody on a forklift, and you go, "Hey, man, is there any way you can, go ahead and count this skid I have for you? It's 1 pallet." And the guy'd be like, "Yeah, I'll be down in a little bit." And literally 15, 20 minutes would go by, a half hour would go by for 1 pallet of and it was their returns, dog food or something,
Mm-hmm.
So it says, according to long-haul established rules, drivers can be on duty for 14 hours a day, including stops for fuel, food, and time at shippers/receivers. And drive time cannot exceed 11 hours, which includes break, which puts it really at 10 and a half hours that you're allowed to drive. It says, so the ability to wait for a truck to be unloaded or for a driver to sit in a dock for more than 2 hours, now that ELDs are live, is greatly diminished. Drivers are not wanting to wait. And so, you gotta really think about that, This is why when you talk to a lot of truck drivers, Ruthann, and the word reefer comes up, a lot of them are like, hell with that. I don't want anything to do with reefer, of waiting 3 o'clock in the morning deliveries. That's the downfall of the reefer. You got to deliver sometimes at 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. You got the wait times. I sat at a Americold. You remember Americold?
Mm-hmm.
I sat at the Americold down in outside of Allentown, some little town, and I remember, I'll never forget sitting there talking to some CR England drivers that had been there 2-3 days just waiting.
That's what I'm saying. You would think that the company would tell this receiver, hey, listen, you're paying us bukus of money for my driver sitting there. You know, we had a deadline. If it was, I always get irritated when people look at one thing being, oh, that's okay. It's fine. But then if it was on them, like if anything was ever reversed, they wouldn't accept that, you know? So these places have to treat the same respect to the drivers and the people that are picking up their stuff just as much as they would if they were, you know, returning. Like it's a two-way street, you know?
You know, I don't know the logistics of the freight once it's received at a warehouse. You know, how they tag it and store it to be shipped out. You know, a lot of them, when they get a truckload of you know, freight, you know, a lot of these distributors, like for example, CNS and Cisco, they have little delivery trucks. Okay, Myers, and those little delivery trucks are going to go out to multiple little stores with like you may bring in 24 skids, and you know those 24 skids might turn into 100 to 200 deliveries. Okay, all over that particular city. So I don't know if they're bringing it in and then they're I don't know what the case is. But here's what I want to say. If you're out there and you've got an idea, okay, you have an idea for a way for these shippers and receivers to make, you know, a better time for these cold storage houses, you could probably make $1 billion if you can solve this. Because out of all shippers and receivers, this is one of the issues that we have in trucking, is in your cold storage and you're in the food industry. For some reason, food warehouses are either that backed up or they really don't have a good system and a good knowledge of being organized and to meet the scheduled times that a trucker comes in. Because there's so many, there's more problems than less problems in that that part of the trucking industry, Ruthann, to where they are held up, they have to wait. And here's the issue that I wanted to point out. You know, you guys are busy playing patty cakes or whatever the hell you're doing at these cold storage houses, or you don't know what you're doing, or whatever the case is. But a truck driver that sits there for so many hours, he's getting maybe $15, $20 an hour to wait. Okay. But he's losing hours. All right. He's losing hours. And the other thing is, if you hold him up to where he has to lay over for a day, what does a trucker get? $100, $150 for a day of layover? That's like literally...
It's nothing.
No, he makes almost double that in a day. A truck driver makes, you know, double that kind of money. And therefore, when you hold him up, if you hold up truckers every day and you're one of these cold storage warehouses that's holding people up, you're hurting the working man. You are. You should be ashamed of yourself that you have your thumbs up your gazoni and you don't know what the hell to do to get your own warehouse organized and more efficient. So if anybody's listening that has an idea, and I mean it, to go in, a consultant to be able to go into one of these warehouses and get them straightened out, you probably could make $1 billion, because that's $1 billion problem, Ruthann.
Gazonis?
Yeah, the gazoni, you know, whatever.
Okay. No, I agree with you. If someone could figure out a better way to do this, because what's going to end up happening is if the drivers don't want to transport that particular freight, there will not be food being transported to the stores for them. So,
yeah, I'm just saying somebody could make probably a good dollar if they can figure it out. And I'm not the guy to do that. I'm not an organized guy, but
that's for sure.
yeah. So, bottom line, guys, somehow, some way, you guys got to get this problem solved because you're really hurting the American trucker. You really are. You're holding them up. If you're a reefer hauler and you get held up every week somewhere in a year's time, that adds up to a lot of money lost just collecting a damn layover. And that's if the driver's even getting paid layover. A lot of companies try to find ways not to pay truck drivers layovers. That's another thing. If you go to a trucking company and it's a reefer hauler, make sure that you check them out and make sure that they are actually paying layover and detention time. Because if they're one of those companies that finds ways to gyp you on that, I wouldn't even drive for those companies. Ruthann, moving on. That's my podcast for the week.
On.
Yes. What do you got? What do you got you got the word of the day for us?
I got a couple of things. One of them is, I'm sure everybody knows that JB Hunt has bought and acquired BNSF Logistics, which is a broker business.
They need them.
Yeah. Well, you know what I heard, or what I read, I should say. And not that I'm going to go through the whole thing of explaining this whole buyout. I mean, anybody can go in there and read it if they want to. But what was very interesting is I'm going to quote what the JB Hunt president, Shelley Simpson, said. She says, quote, coming out that she believes that the trucking industry may now be coming out of the freight recession, adding that customers are cautiously optimistic about the rest of the year.
Well, I would say, what's her name? Shelley what?
Simpson.
Shelley, this is Troy from TalkCDL, and I've got a message for you. You're welcome. Now, Ruthann, how long have I been telling everybody we're starting to slowly come out? It's happening.
It is.
Most people couldn't see it. Everybody's whining. And I always tell everybody the trucking industry is the first to see the bad times and the first to see the good. So obviously Shelley listens to TalkCDL, and she's basically
so smart. She's a smart woman.
You're quoting Shelley, but Shelley quoted me. So I'm just saying, yes, you're welcome, Shelley, for that information. And I'm glad that you're getting the glory, but I'm just telling you that I said it first.
All right.
We are getting more. There's more freight. You could see numbers going up. And, Lord willing, we're going to have a turnaround hopefully by spring. We're not all the way out of the woods, but obviously we're getting out of the woods. The trees are getting thinner. Go ahead.
Next, I'd like to say, usually I've been going and saying, pointing out a heroic thing that a driver had done. Well, I'm going to kind of reverse it this week because there was someone that was heroic for a driver.
Wow. What do you got?
Lieutenant Corey Brooks from North Carolina, I believe. He's a police officer. He watched the tractor and trailer that a driver was driving. He worked for XPO, and he was driving down the particular road. I can't hit the one part of it because it's going to start going off on this video, but you can go on TikTok and look at them. There's tons of videos. He's seen the driver go across him and slam into the median and into the cement wall coming from this underbridge. And he's like, oh, wow, something's going to happen there. And he jumped out. And as soon as he started running over, he's seen from the trailer going across the cement, it set sparks off. So the fuel started leaking, I guess, from where it had hit the cement, and he could see the fire starting to go towards the fuel tanks. So he opened up the door and he said, hey, driver, you need to get out now. Noticed that the driver's head was slumped over. He wasn't responding to him, so he got him out of his seatbelt, pulled him out of the truck. Another driver stopped to help him carry this driver away from the truck, and all of a sudden, boom, the truck explodes.
Wow.
Yes.
Like in a movie scene.
Exactly.
And who was the guy that rescued him? A cop, you said?
A cop. Yep. A police officer the driver was from Salisbury, New York.
Okay.
It was like North Carolina, I think, is where it happened.
Okay. Well, I mean, that's really, like you said, heroic of the cop, especially, honestly, to see fuel catching on fire and going towards a truck some people would turn and run. But this police officer, trooper, you said it was a state trooper.
No, he's a regular police officer, North Carolina police officer.
Okay. So North Carolina police officer ran towards the danger and, got the driver out, and with the help of another driver, it sounds like, yeah? Yeah,
he was, his name is Lieutenant Corey Brooks, and you can pull it up. The police released the body cam of the driver, of the police officer, so you could actually see when he's running up to the truck, you actually see the stream of fire, the stream of lit gas, lit fuel going up to that tractor. You can actually see the whole thing.
And what's the cop's name?
Lieutenant Corey Brooks.
So TalkCDL salutes you, Lieutenant Corey Brooks. And good job, by the way. Good job. Ruthann, moving on. You got the word of the day?
I do.
What is it? What do you got for us today? Is it a good one?
And
this is by Word Genius.
Right. When I seen this, I thought I knew what this word meant, and it actually showed me that I did not.
Okay. What's the word?
Demur.
Say it again.
Demur.
Demur?
Demur. DEMUR. Demur.
Huh. And what does demur mean? Because I wouldn't even guess at that one.
It means raised doubts or objections or show reluctance. If you look at it as a law, it's to put forward a demurrer. So, it's basically it's what if you're in what they're saying with the law. If you're in a court or anything like that, you're supposed to raise doubts to people that this crime happened the way it happened, that type of situation. I always thought, which I could be wrong, but I always thought it was being more not humble, but like making yourself look little.
Read it. I mean? Read it in a sentence.
This is an open forum. Please demur if you don't agree. If you don't agree with the charge, your lawyer can demur.
Interesting. Okay. Well, hey, listen, we're getting smarter every time you read something to us.
I definitely did.
Wow, that's amazing. Ruthann, we are out of here.
Peace.
Peace. Praise the Lord.